Ground ball. McClain, second. 12 in a row. The oldest team in professional baseball has its 5th ever winning streak of a dozen straight.
Our job every day is to try to kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's why we're here.
That is caught. Left center. Reds win.
And this ball is launched high and very deep to right. Long gone. It's second of the night. Ellie De La Cruz.
Short lead for Pena. Larkin drills it. Do you believe this? It's going to be gone. Back to back. Walk-off home runs. How about this? Aaron is back. He's back. He's back.
And a swing and a drive. Deep left field. This one belongs to the Reds. Swung on and hit deep to left field. That ball is going to be gone. Home run from the Reds for his time to score.
Goes to second one. Around to first. Got a double play. And the Reds sweep the Cubs. Breaking ball. Hit high. Hit deep. Way back there. And gone into the second deck and left. Christian Encarnacion Strand walks it off.
Archer does it in his major league debut. He gets the final 3 outs, and the Reds get an extra inning win. A thriller 5-4.
Swung on. Fly ball. Hit to deep right field. That ball is going to be gone. A grand slam home run by Mike Cameron.
2 outs, 2 on. Reds down by 1. Larkin down the line. It's a winning. It's a winning. Here comes Tucker. Here comes Steins. Larkin's won the game. Barry Larkin gets mobbed. Look at this scene. It's synergy.
The stretch, the pause and the pitch. And a line drive, base hit left center field. A single for Aaron Boone. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won 8 in a row.
Kobayashi with a long look turns it loose, and Dunn hits it to deep right. It's all over. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won their 5th game in a row. They've defeated the Cleveland Indians on an Adam Dunn 3-run home run, 4-2. In on the corners at first and third. 2 on, nobody out. Here's Royce Ring pitching, no bunt. Ground ball by the third baseman into left field. Dave Bruce rounds third. This one belongs to the Reds.
That's hit pretty good. Guess what? He doesn't need speed. That's gone. He's the king of the Queen City tonight.
With 1 out here in the 11th inning, you sure got to go now. Swung on, pull down the left field line. That ball is going to get the winning run in. Here comes Jay Bruce rounding third, heading toward the plate. And this one belongs to the Reds.
Huge situation for Votto. Why you paying the big bucks to deliver the goods with 2 outs in the 9th inning? Can he do it? In the gap, right center field, and Votto delivers the goods.
Hit deep center field. Hank Hill going back at the warning track. Oh, he gets one. It's gone. Joey Votto is delivered.
Hello and welcome into the Chatterbox Reds pregame show. Today is Friday, September 19th, 2025, and we are still alive. We're still in it. 2 games back, wild card spot, taking on the Chicago Cubs tonight in game 2 of the series. Today I'm joined by a Mr. like Sam LaCure kind of guy. He's going to be on the post-game show also, Mr. Austin Layton. How are you doing today, Austin?
Good, man. Good to be back on the pregame with you. Yeah, it's going to be a long day watching the game and then doing postgame as well. But, I mean, I figure if I'm going to be watching the Reds anyway, might as well hop on here. It's playoff stretch coming off that game last night. Got some momentum, so I'm glad to talk some Reds, man. Should be fun.
Yeah, let's talk about those Red Legs coming off of a 1-0 win yesterday. Feels good to be on the side of those. Complete game shutout by Hunter Green. It's a 3rd shutout win this season by a Red that leads Major League Baseball. The Reds haven't had 3 complete shutouts in a season since 2014. Johnny Cueto had 2. Homer Bailey had 1. And that's the most they've had in a season since 2009, where they had 4. It's pretty impressive. I don't know what the difference is with the pitching staff this year compared to most years, but up until this season, Anthony DeSclafani was the last Red to have a complete game shutout. That's pretty awesome. Some more news around the Reds. Rhett Lauder was scratched from his rehab start for AAA Louisville with the shoulder discomfort, I guess is the technical term they used. Francona said that he didn't feel like he recovered well after his start. So that's his third separate injury this season. It started out with the forearm strain, and then it turned into an oblique injury on May 22nd. And then now it's the shoulder. So that looks like he's going to be shut down for the season. I kind of expected it. I was kind of surprised that he came back when he did. But what are your thoughts on Lauder with his news today?
Yeah, it stinks. I mean, I was kind of a guy that I didn't necessarily at least factor him into like the rest of this year for us anyway. Would have been good to see obviously some momentum and just going healthy into the offseason for him, just because, yeah, to your point, like I was thinking about what you were saying too, like what's the difference between this year and last year with the Reds pitching staff? And I was gonna say health, but like it hasn't really even been that. Like Hunter Green's been hurt, Lodolo's been out, and Rhett Lauder, obviously, this example too. So they're still kind of dealing with that. But I think for Lauder, I mean, yeah, I think what I read in your article that I saw actually too, that probably is going to shut him down for the year at least, which makes sense with how close they are. But it just stinks, man, because like I mean, last year I thought he just looked so great and could have been a huge part of this rotation this year. And it just stinks not being able to get to see that. And obviously would have been another weapon. It probably would have been one of those guys that, depending on how he pitched, we'd have been having maybe the Chase Burns conversation of like, do you put him in your bullpen for the playoffs type of deal? So it would have been a good weapon to have, but just stinks for Rhett because he's been obviously dealing with injuries to some extent pretty much all year and couldn't really build up his innings and whatnot like we need him to. But yeah, I hopefully it ends up not being anything too crazy. The MRI, I guess, came back okay as far as not finding anything too serious. So hopefully they rest him up, get him ready for, I think, maybe the fall league and things like that, where he can get some more innings. But I don't know. You just hope that he can build some momentum going into next year because he'd be an awesome, basically addition to the staff.
Yeah, he was promoted last year in August. He went 2-2 with the 1.17 ERA. He flashed just excellent command. I mean, his first start, I remember he had a few walks against the Brewers. I was actually there unintentionally, not knowing it was going to be his debut start. But yeah, it was. He showed a lot of command, decent strikeout numbers, and he didn't walk many guys. So I mean, he would be a good complement to this rotation when he's healthy. Because if you can get a healthy Lauder with Burns, with Abbott, Lodolo, and Green, I mean that's a solid five. And if to say that this rotation can get better next year is a testament to how good it's honestly it's kind of downplaying how good it's been this year because this rotation's been excellent this season. Headlined by Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott being the lone all-star pitcher for this team. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the game today. Some differences in the lineups. It looks like Ellie got moved up a little bit. Noelvi Marte batting second. Let's run through this lineup and then we can talk about how we feel about what's going on today.
Yeah, leading off as he has been, TJ Friedel in center field. Like you mentioned, Marte in right, batting second. Miguel Andujar at DH, batting third. I do like that. Good to see Andujar back in there against the lefty. Austin Hayes in left field and batting cleanup, followed by Spencer Steer at first. Ellie De La Cruz at short, Brian Hayes at third, Jose Trevino at catcher, and Matt McLean at second to round it out in the ninth. And Nick Lodolo starting pitching, like we mentioned. But yeah, it's interesting. I know, at least I'm sure this is kind of the topic that we were probably going to hit on next, but Reds Nation has been already complaining. I've seen on social media, where's Sal Stewart tonight? I'm curious to your thoughts. I think, at least for me, it seems like it's kind of the behavior that we almost want to see Francona do with Ellie, like giving him days off here and there after like an 0 for 3, day. Like, because I get it, man. Like Sal's been great. He's been great against lefties, especially. But at the same time, he was 0 for 3 last night with 3 strikeouts. So, like, if there's any day to give a guy a rest, it's probably after that type of day. Now, I know that doesn't necessarily mean you do the same thing today or anything like that. For all we know, he could go 4 for 4 or something. But I don't know. It just seems like this almost makes more sense to give him a day off. I'm sure we'll hopefully see him in a pinch hit role or, off the bench at least, just to get that bat in the lineup if they need it today. But it is somewhat of a head scratcher just with how good he's been against lefties. But I don't know if are you up in arms about it, or how do you feel about no Sal Stewart, I guess, or this lineup as a whole too?
Yeah, I'm not like up in arms about it, but it is surprising because Sal's hit lefties very well in every level this season. 308 average, 409, 570 splits. Slash line. He's just, you need to see what he can do on a major league team. And, I get it. You're in a playoff push. You don't want to put too much pressure on a young guy. But then again, nobody else is really stepping up to the plate, no pun intended, but they're not really setting the world on fire on offense. So it'd be kind of nice to see the power in the lineup, especially with no Will Benson also in the lineup. So, there's the only real power we're seeing is Andujar and then possibly, I guess, Marte in this lineup today. I don't know. I'd like to see him play just a little bit, just to kind of see what he can do. But I guess with 9 games left, you don't want to get, too far ahead with what you got.
Yeah, and I guess you could see some power out of somebody like Austin Hayes too. Steer obviously over the weekend, but yeah, to your point, I mean, he's been a spark plug. Sal Stewart has, so we're gonna lack that energy at least for the opening lineup. It stinks because he's probably not a guy that you put in for like a defensive substitution late in the game either necessarily. So it'd have to be kind of a pinch hit role, then maybe stay in the game after that. But yeah, we'll have to see what they do. Depends on who's pitching, I guess, how long the starter stays in the game, that type of thing. But see how it plays out.
Yeah, let's talk about our starter tonight. Nick Lodolo, 8-8 with a 3.30 ERA. His last start, he went 5 1/3, allowed 8 hits, 5 earned runs, no walks, and 5 strikeouts in the loss versus the Athletics. What are your expectations for Lodolo today versus this pretty good Cubs lineup?
Yeah. I'll be honest, not super confident in it. I mean, I think he could definitely perform well, but to your point, it seems like, especially his last start with the 5 earned runs and I think 3 home runs, that's kind of shaky against the Athletics, who aren't, scaring anybody really, it seems like. But so I don't know. I think for me, Lodolo, if he could at least give them, he's been around like 4 or 5 innings in most of his starts, it seems like recently. That's kind of about what I expect. Maybe 5, against these guys would be a solid start, at least in my eyes. But it stinks because it seems like Lodolo will have these games where he gives up like 4 or 5 runs, and the next one will be like 0, and then the next one will be like 4 or 5 again. So I guess pattern wise, like if he gave up 5 last start over the weekend, he's due for a 0. But I just don't see that necessarily against this Cubs lineup, who I think is pretty good, and especially coming off of last night, if you believe how that stuff carries over. We shut them out last night. So if if you're feeling like it's a they're due type of scenario, then maybe they break out tonight. And honestly, looking at some of the matchups that these guys have against Lodolo lifetime too, let me pull it back up, but there was a few guys that were up in like the 300 range, just lifetime. I think like Happ is batting 350 over the course of 20 at bats. Horner's batting 375 over 16 at bats. And then you got guys like Suzuki, 14 at bats. He's batting 357. So like these guys have hit Lodolo decently well. Now, trust me, I think Lodolo is a solid pitcher, and I think he's capable of a good start. But like it's almost one of those games where like if this was gonna go the Cubs' way, this kind of, at least for me, sets up to be one of those games. But I don't know. Can you talk me down at least on that nervousness at all? Or are you thinking
I don't know. It feels like if Cy Young was pitching for the Reds, Ian Happ would still find a way to have a 3-hit game. I just don't know what it is about Ian Happ killing the Reds every time he faces them.
Cincinnati grad, right?
It is, yeah. It must be what it is. He just loves hitting here. You kind of wish that he played here. That way he would at least have the numbers for us and not against us. But yeah, active Cubs against Lodolo are, I think, 10 for 30 or 95 for 108. I lost it. It's not good. Whatever it is, it's not good. And then Cubs lineup, we got Nico Horner leading off, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Carson Kelly, Justin Turner, at DH batting 5th. Dansby Swanson, shortstop, batting 6th. Carlos Santana at first base, batting 7th. Pete Crow Armstrong is in center field, batting 8th, and Shaw is at third base, batting 9th. And their starter for tonight is Shoto Imanaga. He's just been a really good pitcher since he's came into the league. He's 9-7 with a 3.2 ERA. I don't have enough things to say about him. He's just been a really solid starter since he's came over. What are your thoughts? Is there any player other than maybe Ian Happ that kind of sticks out for you tonight in the Cubs lineup against Lodolo, and then we can kind of go into Imanaga?
Yeah, I think Horner probably stands out the most to me too. Just after Happ, yeah, Happ's just like a Reds killer, so like I almost don't even like think it's a Lodolo thing. It's just like to your point, him playing the Reds. But I think Horner might have a decent game tonight, just with how he's played and obviously just overall his body of work. But yeah, Imanaga, I don't have like a score prediction for this game. Like I haven't gotten that far yet, even in my thought process. And I don't know, score predictions for me, I feel like I always say they're going to be like 4-3 or like 5-4 range. Like,
Close game.
Just because that's like. Yeah, just because that's like average.
Try to be
like,
realistic about it.
Yeah, so I don't even have that. But if you were going to game it out, at least something that was interesting to me, I pulled up Imanaga's baseball reference page. I was just looking at his last 5 games. He's given up 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts, and then the 5th one before like all of those, it's 2 runs. So he's pretty consistently given up like 3 runs over the course of 5-6 innings. So if the trend continues, that'd be about the range that he would give up in this game. Now, I don't know if that means anything at all, but I just thought it was an interesting stat that it was so even across his last 5 starts. But I don't know, man. I think it could be a tough night for the Reds lineup. I think at least with guys like Andujar in there that especially hit lefties well, you got yourself a chance to do some damage. And this team, I think the Cubs have a better chance of getting hot and scoring some runs than the Reds do, unfortunately. But we'll see how it plays out. But were there anybody that you saw at least for the Reds that you think could match up well tonight?
Well, I guess like we talked about, Ian Happ's always scary, but
well, I mean the opposite
for the
like,
Reds.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
It's not great.
Yeah, that's
it's not. Ellie's 0 for 6. TJ Friedel's 1 for 6. Spencer Steers 2 for 5. Austin Hayes 1 for 5. Espinal's 2 for 5. McLean's 0 for 3. Andujar's 1 for 2. Nobody else has a hit against him. So yeah, it's not great. It's not great against him. So I hopefully, when I saw that Trace put out a thing today, putting a bet on Ellie to hit a home run today. Let's get that going. Like if there's something that the Reds need more than anything right now, is we need Ellie De La Cruz to get hot. If Ellie can get hot, we can make a run and easily we can get past the Mets and get into the playoffs. It feels like how Ellie goes is how the offense goes. And for the most part, Marte's kind of picked up some slack. Andujar, since he's came over and been healthy, he's picked up the slack against lefties. Matt McLean's been pretty decent. He's been a whole lot better over his last 15, 20 games than he was for the first 120 games of the season. So I kind of like where we're at. It's just we really need Ellie to get going. I don't know what is he just really, that injury really hampering that much? And if it is, why is he still playing? Because if it's really affecting his play that much, then get him out, because his defense has been really bad since this injury bug's been going on since July 31st. His average has dipped down nearly 40 points, and he's barely stealing any bases, and he's got 1 home run since July 31st. Like, what has Ellie provided on this team since July 31st that really warrants him playing every single day?
I mean, I agree.
And I love Ellie.
Like,
I am in no way saying that Ellie sucks or, he's trade him, whatever. Ellie is the future of this team. How Ellie goes, the Reds go. And I fully believe that Ellie could have a 2026 MVP trophy next year. I really do. It's just at this point right now, what is Ellie providing for this team that isn't hurting the team for the past month and a half?
No, and yeah, to your point, I mean, I agree. I don't think he sucks, but I guess your other point, he has kind of sucked recently, right? So it's like, I don't think that's like the overall average, but like after recently it has been. So that's kind of the tricky part. But then, yeah, and I think they mentioned it during the broadcast last night. I think he leads MLB now in errors too, which isn't a great place you want to be. But and I don't know, man. I for a while I was buying into the fatigue argument, but like at some point, man, it's just like it's the baseball season, man. Like you
It's
can't
in his
blame
head.
fatigue on this.
I think it's in his head.
Yeah, like I don't know, and that I think I keep going back to the broadcast last night because it's still fresh in my head. But they even mentioned, and I don't even know the stats on this, but they mentioned his sprint speed is kind of upper end of the league compared to like other players, which I don't know if that's trended that way or not. So that would basically mean like the leg injury shouldn't be as much of an issue as you would think. So if he's not injured, if it's not really that fatigue of an issue, then yeah, maybe it is mental with him, and maybe that's part of the reason why they moved him down the lineup to try to just break
Get
some
it
of
out
that
of his
pressure
head.
off of him and get him going. But yeah, man, it stinks because yeah, to your point, like if any of these guys could get hot, like shoot, Steer, Ellie De La Cruz, McLean, even like this last week, I mean that could be enough to get them, back in it. And it sucks that they played. The Cubs are a good team right now, and they obviously closed the year against the Brewers, who the Reds do not like playing at all. At least I don't think they do. I don't like watching them play them at least. But so I don't know. It'll be tough, but I think yeah, if they can get a couple of these guys, and we've been saying it all year, so it sounds like a broken record. If these guys can get hot, they can make a run. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that's baseball, and like the good news is a lot of these guys haven't gotten super hot. So like it's not like we used up all the getting hot magic, but I don't know, man. It just it's starting to seem like this might just be the trend that we see rather than, up down, up down. But we'll see how it goes, man.
Yeah. So one last, I guess, negative Ellie talk, and I don't want to. I don't want to make this a negative Ellie show, but yeah, I saw on one of the broadcasts recently where prior to July 31st, he was, I think, around top 35 in strikeouts, or he wasn't in the top 35 in strikeouts. He was outside of the top 35 in strikeouts. And then post July 31st, he has actually moved up into the top 10 in strikeouts. So he's struck out a lot since July 31st. And I just think it's a head thing. I think he's fatigued. I think he's in his head. And then when things aren't going his way, I think it's just becoming like a snowball effect where it's just getting worse. But let's talk about some positive stuff. Bullpen should be rested. Hunter Green complete game yesterday. So there's nobody pitched from the bullpen yesterday. On Wednesday, we saw Burns, Pagan, and Ashcraft. Ashcraft threw 5 pitches, so he should be pretty well rested too. And then on Tuesday, we saw Barlow. He threw 20 pitches. Zach Maxwell threw 8. Brent Suter threw 8 pitches, and that was all we saw. So we should have a pretty fresh bullpen. Connor Phillips last pitched Monday. Tony Santion last pitched on Monday. Ashcraft, like I said, Wednesday, and then on Monday. And then Emilio Pagan, other than Wednesday, pitched on Monday. So we should have a pretty relatively fresh bullpen. What are you expecting? I guess we could talk about predictions for Louder, and then who do you expect to see coming out of the bullpen, barring a blowout?
Yeah, I think just going off of Lodola's recent pitches or outings, I should say, probably around the 4 or 5 inning range. I wouldn't expect to see him go much deeper than that. Obviously, if he does, awesome, fantastic. But yeah, I think it could be a game where he's, going like a 5 and a third or something, and then we go to the bullpen. So to your point, the bullpen is well rested. Really, the only guy I'd probably think that they wouldn't use just based on how I think they're handling him is Burns, just because he pitched basically 2 days ago, I guess, and it seems like they're at least trying to give him like 3 or 4 days in between outings. Now, if you did have an early exit by Adolo, then it'd be cool to have Burns go in there for a couple of innings, but I just don't think they'll do it. So they might use Ashcraft in that type of role. Really, I mean, I think everybody's on the table. Pagan's the only other guy, like you said, that pitched kind of meaningful or a meaningful amount of innings or pitches, I should say, in the last couple of days. But I mean, we know with Pagan, like he could have pitched the past 4 days and they'd probably still use him. So it doesn't necessarily matter to me that he pitched recently. So I don't know. I think you could see a lot of the guys out of the bullpen tonight, Ashcraft, Barlow, that type of thing. And then depending what the score looks like, obviously Santillan and Pagan too. But I don't know. Is there I'm trying to think of like who I'd want to see the best in those kind of high leverage moments. I know Barlow's kind of been that guy in the middle of the game. But I don't know if I'm missing anybody, or you had anybody else on your radar?
Yeah, so I guess if we're keeping up with the trend of Lodolo, let's just say he goes 5, or maybe 5 and a third, somewhere in that range. I'd like to see, and maybe not in any particular order, other than Pagan in ninth. I would like to see Maxwell Santillan, just because I think he provides the best stress relief out of the bullpen, other than Pagan. But I would like to see Santillan, Maxwell, and then, maybe your first guy back, just kind of throw a wrench in it, would be Suter, just because he's a slow toss and lefty. And he has reverse splits. He faces right-handed hitters better than he does left-handed hitters. So he could be that, pseudo right-handed specialist who's actually a lefty. And kind of fool the Cubs into thinking they got to bring in some pinch hitters when they don't actually have to, because he actually does better versus righties and lefties. But, Suter, Santillan, Maxwell, Pagan, and I guess kind of that order. But yeah, I would like to see just, our A bullpen come out, just to kind of, I want to see, at least setting the tone. What is this, a 4-game series? Setting the tone for at least a split after a win today, and then you go into Saturday, and you really kind of put the hammer down on that.
Yeah, and to your point too, it'd be nice to see those A guys, but at the same time, at least my thought process is like, all these games are going to be pretty meaningful, it seems like. So there's a chance that we're going to be using these guys a ton. So it would be really cool if we get some meaningful innings at a guy like Maxwell, like especially I think in like a high leverage. And he's shown that he can do it recently. So yeah, it'd be a good thing to keep an eye on.
So let's talk about a little bit about tomorrow and Sunday's games. Saturday's matchup is Javier Assad versus Zach Littell. Javier Assad's 3-1, 4.23 ERA, 15 strikeouts. Zach Littell's 9-8, 3.86 ERA, 123 strikeouts. He's been pretty decent since coming over from Tampa Bay. And then on Sunday, it is Jameson Taillon versus Andrew Abbott. I really like that matchup. It's an all-star matchup. Jameson Taillon's 10-6, 3.93 ERA. Andrew Abbott's 9-7 with a 2.88 ERA. He kind of showed signs of his typical August-September fatigue, but I think he's kind of bounced back. I don't think his fatigue's as exaggerated as it has been in the past. And if you go back to prior seasons, his ERA balloons up over 7 once he hits August and September. But I think that just shows you how good he is at the beginning of seasons, because his ERA has never really been close around 4 for his career so far. So for him to be at a 2.88 ERA at this point in this season, I saw on a broadcast earlier in the season when they were talking about Abbott, he said that when people would ask him, how's your arm feeling? How's your arm feeling? He's like, my arm's great. But what you guys didn't ask me is my legs were dead. He's like, I was gassed in my legs, but other than now that he came into this season, I think he's one of those guys that said, I came into this season the best shape of my life, and I think he actually proved it. Unlike Jeimer Candelario, who gets cut in May, but
what's he up to? I don't want to get into that too long.
Not great.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be helping this team. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
I'd gladly take Key Brian Hayes over Jeimer Candelario. But yeah, 9-7, 2.8 ERA for Andrew Abbott. Is there anything that stands out for those two matchups quickly? And then we can go into the NL Central.
Yeah, it'd be a tough matchup Sunday, like you said. Other than that, I mean, especially with the teams that we're playing kind of down the stretch, minus the Pirates series, I guess. But it's going to be tough matchups all around. So, I mean, we're going to have to bring it. It's the same thing you're going to see in the playoffs, too. So it's time to get hot if they can.
Yeah. Current wild card standings. We are 2 games back of the Mets. We are tied with Arizona currently, 77 and 76. The Mets are, like I said, 2 games ahead. The Cubs already clinched the playoff spot, not division. San Diego and LA are kind of battling for it. LA's 3 games ahead of, or 3 games ahead of San Diego for the division. It looks like it's going to come down to the Mets and how they fare towards the end of the season. We really we haven't done ourselves any favors, you know. It's we haven't had momentum. Like, it feels like this team goes on a 3-game winning streak, lose 2. Go on a 3-game losing streak, win 2. Go on a 3-game winning streak, lose 2. And then you go 4 in a row loss. Then you go 4 in a row win. It just feels like if we could just get hot, and I've been saying this since April, if this team can just get hot, and like, it just comes down to Ellie, honestly, if you can just get it going. But Arizona, they've been a surprise. I didn't expect Arizona to be where they're at after their trade deadline. It's it hasn't been as impressive as Detroit last year, but it kind of reminds me of Detroit a little bit last year, where they sell off a lot of their key players of the team. Everyone thought, they lose Eugenio Suarez. He's had, I think he had 38 home runs at the trade deadline. They lose him, and they lose Josh Naylor, and they just keep winning. They keep playing good baseball.
Yeah, and I just scoreboard watching kind of too. I was pulling up just what's going on with the teams that we're kind of battling for positions with, like you mentioned. Mets playing the Nationals tonight, which, if you're a Reds fan, kind of sucks because Nationals, their record 62 and 91. You'd like to see the Mets be playing somebody, at least give them more of a challenge, you would hope. But the good news is with the Mets, it doesn't really seem to matter who they're playing. Sometimes they're so far up and down, but that game starts in about an hour, so we'll be scoreboard watching on that. Cubs get swept. Optimistic, John. I like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's right.
So yeah, the Padres take on the White Sox tonight. I guess we could talk about this before we kind of get wrapped up. Cubs still have something to play for. I think there's some kind of discourse to where maybe they might roll over these last 9 games of the year and just cruise into the playoffs, but they're playing for home field for the wild card also. So I don't expect them to go down without a fight, especially, with the Padres taking on the White Sox. That's kind of their dream matchup. I think the Padres are looking at the Cubs like, hey, you guys got to take on a real serious playoff contending team going down the stretch, and we're taking on the White Sox. So I don't expect them to lay down. I do see that the Giants are playing the Dodgers this weekend. Brewers and the Cardinals. Let's see. Diamondbacks are. I don't even see them today. But yeah, it's like we've really got to take control of the situation. You can't rely on the Mets losing. You can't rely on the Padres losing. You can't rely on the Diamondbacks. You got to go out there. You got to win no matter what. I mean, you feel like, honestly, it feels like you almost have to win out to guarantee yourself a spot, and that may not even be enough. But
yeah,
it stinks. If you put yourself in a situation where we just haven't gotten hot all season. I don't think we've had a winning streak over 5 games, and we just recently had a losing streak over 5. But these last 20 something games, what are we, like 17 out of our last 24 have been losses or something? It hasn't been great. It's not been a great run. It's not been a great end of the season. But we still find ourselves 2 games back of a playoff spot. I like our chances. Our pitching I think our pitching's the best out of those teams that are fighting for that spot. Anytime you got Hunter Green going out doing what he did yesterday, you have Nick Lodolo showing what he can do when he pitched against the Nationals. He had that complete game shutout. Andrew Abbott, if he can just dig in and just find that extra little bit of gas going into the end of the season. And then our bullpen, who has, struggled at times, but we've been pretty good, pretty solid bunch of guys. And I like the potential that we have with Maxwell And I like how Burns just brings that extra fuel coming out of the bullpen as well. So, do you have anything that you want to key on before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, to echo kind of what you said, it's tough watching them basically blow an opportunity over the weekend, playing the Athletics. Could have made up some ground. Feels like we've been at 2 games back for the past like 3 weeks or something, which is probably a stretch, but somewhat true. So no, man. I mean, we keep saying they got to get hot. You know that they've had the pitching all year, most of the year, to get themselves over the hump and into the playoffs. This final stretch is just going to be, can the offense at least show up for a long enough duration to propel them into it? And we'll know here in about a week, man, because it's been kind of a missed opportunity year for the offense. Rave Damsey thinks we're so far back. It's crazy, but I don't know, man. I think they're going to have to overachieve is basically where I'm at this last week to get in. If they do, then they deserve to get in. I think it's great. See what they can do. The good news is if they do get hot this past week, they're kind of doing it at the right time. But just with what we've seen this year, it'd be hard for me to see them doing that for a whole week where they really need to, just because they haven't all year. But hey, it's a good time for them to figure it out, man. As any, I'll take it. I've been watching, all these games this year, basically, and it'd be nice to be rewarded for it as a Reds fan, but you never know, man. But yeah, let's get something started tonight. That's all I got.
Yeah, maybe we go on a 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks run, and maybe we finish off what they didn't finish. With that being said, everyone, thanks for joining in. Like the stream if you haven't already. And make sure you tune into the post-game show tonight. It's Austin and Craig Sandlin tonight. It's going to be a good, hopefully, Reds win. And if you don't have anything else, hit us with the Go Reds, and then we'll get out of here.
Go Reds.